keep theirs off unless you're speaking to an item or answering a question. And also it may pay with somewhat inclement weather if you're online to just mute your microphone, please, unless you're speaking. So we'll get underway. If we could start the live stream. Thank you, Jenny. All going, thank you. Councillor Briggs, would you lead us through the karakia, please?
My pleasure. Me noi tātou, let us pray. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā tarata ki tai. E hia ki ana te atakura, he tio, he hoka, he hauhu, ti hei, mauri ora.
Thank you, Councillor Briggs. Have no apologies for today's meeting and there is no public comment. So I will just ask members of the committee if they have any declarations they need to make today or any conflicts of interest relating to the papers. No, thank you. I'd also like at this point too to welcome a number of councillors joining us who are not members of the committee, but thank you for taking the time to join us today. I will offer you the opportunity to ask any questions you have on the item of business on the agenda today once I've checked with questions from committee members. So please, if you do have a question, please let me know, or if you are online, please raise your hand and I will keep an eye on that as well. So first item of business, now in fact our only item of business today, which is the Group Annual Report for 2024 and 2025, page 8 of the agenda pack. A huge amount of work obviously gone into this, and it's not the first time, councillors, that we have seen the annual report. We've seen it obviously in workshop and draft version, but this obviously is the crunch. And this is the final or near final version, hence also why we have Debbie with us from Audit New Zealand, and I'll offer Debbie the opportunity to comment in a moment. So Darren, I'll pass over to you.
Kia ora. I'd like to introduce the draft Group Annual Report for the year ending 30 June 2025. We're seeking the Subcommittee's endorsement of the adoption of the Group Annual Report, and we're also inviting feedback on this version so we can incorporate it into the final report. Feedback from the informal workshop held on the 21st of August has been incorporated into this final version, and I thank you for that input. This year's annual report timeline has been compressed this year because of the local elections, as you know. So the final report has been scheduled to be adopted by Council on the 7th of October. Since preparing this version, the team has been working closely with Audit New Zealand and to address any audit queries. Currently, we have got 47 measures which have been achieved, 28 have not been achieved, and 3 have been reported on and set the baseline target for next year. We're still working with Audit New Zealand currently to finalise some of the KPIs. We're still waiting for some information from Well and Water, and there's information outstanding for one of the transport KPIs, but we're hoping to have all that finalised within this week for the final version. Following today's meeting, we'll hopefully incorporate any feedback received today, and we'll still continue to work with Audit New Zealand to obtain final sign-off. And obviously before the final version is published, it'll be read by an external proofreader to back up any formalities of any of those kind of things.
And just in terms of the financial statements part of the annual report, so overall there's been minimal changes made to the financial numbers from the previous versions that have been seen. We did manage to pick up an extra $500,000 worth of revenue in relation to water meter charges, that being from the date of the last read through to 30th of June 25. There has been quite a bit of work done around the disclosures, and so there have been additional disclosures made in relation to the local water done well that you'll see in note 31, and also some additional disclosures in the fixed asset note, which is note 14. The financial numbers incorporate the results, the audited results of Seaview Marina. It also incorporates the unaudited results of UPL and Wellington Water. And just in relation to UPL, the audit is expected to be completed by the end of October. The auditors have advised that the key components of the audit has been completed, and there's likely to be no impact of the delay of the UPL audit to the council group annual report. And in relation to Wellington Water, we're expecting their audit to be completed by the end of September. And from a financial perspective, the share of their result is quite immaterial, so it's unlikely to impact on council's group annual report.
I just do want lastly to acknowledge all the hard mahi the team has put in over the last couple of months to prepare this annual report to where it is today. I also just want to say that our Audit Director, Debbie Badfield, is online and she's available for any questions. So thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yes, a lot of hard work goes into getting these reports done. Before I invite Debbie to make any comments, Jenny, is there anything you would like to add? No? Thank you. Debbie and Sashi from Audit New Zealand, thank you for joining us. Debbie, pass to you if you'd like to make any comments or just perhaps update us on the audit status from your perspective, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, for letting me have an opportunity to speak. As indicated by the Hutt team, is that the audit is busy ongoing at the moment. Hopefully we'll try and complete majority of the work by end of this week. We are working quite closely with the various personnel and teams to make sure that we're all on the same page and on track. The team have been very accommodating and been working quite well with us. So from our side, we've got no concerns. We've just got the key sections that are still outstanding from an audit perspective, mostly relate to your SSPs, where we're just trying to audit the key measures. At this point in time, there's nothing to raise from my side. All the matters that needed to be raised or we're in discussion with Jenny has been fully been made aware of. My point of view.
Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that. And thank you also for the work that your team done to us, because obviously it's a lot of work for you as well. And I think the other point you made well too is the relationship that needs to work both ways, as to actually if you raise questions, those being answered promptly and information provided. So thank you for that. Members of the committee are now open for any questions you have. No? No questions, committee members? Councillors that have joined us, do you have any questions you would like to ask? I'm not seeing any questions. I do see one. Sorry, Councillor Edwards.
Thanks. I just wanted to say this is a really well put together report, very, very readable with a lot of graphics and so on. So I really appreciate the work that's gone into it. Just a couple of tiny points. In Joe and Campbell's message on page 18, we talk about over 9 kilometres of pipe renewed, but then in a case study on page 35, we talk about 7.9 kilometres renewed. So I don't know which is the correct figure. And on page 33, we talk about the activation that's happened on Daly Street. It would be helpful, if possible, to get a sentence in there that was a resource consent condition, given that this has been the subject of a bit of a squabble during campaigning out there.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Appreciate those, and the team will take those on board and look at that for you. Madam Chief Executive, any comments or clarification you'd like to add?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. And Councillor Edwards, thank you. These documents do have to meet the stringent requirements of our colleagues at Audit New Zealand. Quite rightly, it is a public document. We are audited upon it. And there is always that challenge between, I talk at the readability of something for the woman on the bus, which is my test that everybody knows, and making sure that happens. So I'm glad it feels different. It is, whilst lengthy, it's significantly shorter than those that were there 6 years ago. And you, Madam Chair, amongst others, have been some of the people that have given us that challenge. If I can just say a little bit about the report, and apologies to members, we work you right up to the last minute getting this to Council at October the 7th, but we did think it was important for outgoing Council to own this annual report. I know some councils have left that to the incoming Council. We didn't think that was right. It's the direction you've set, the delivery we've achieved together. And I hope you can see some of the highlights in there, as well as some of the challenges around the amount of money. For example, we've confirmed for Te Waitakamori or Te Awa Kairangi. The work we've progressed on the new water organisation, Metro Water, turning around that underinvestment in water infrastructure, and we'll make sure, Councillor Edwards, that is reflected across the piece. We are not alone in that underinvestment. In fact, it would be really odd if we hadn't underinvested, because if we had, we'd be the only place in New Zealand that had taken a different orthodoxy to everybody else. But of course, as I put in my member briefing to you all last week, when we look back to 2020, because we hadn't put money away for the big bulge that was coming up around that 60-year renewal, and you'll recall getting back into that, looking at that, made our position particularly acute compared to those councils, for example, where most of the growth may have happened, say, only in the past 10 or 20 years, and they weren't coming up to that 60-year criticality. Of course, it can be depressing when you think we're tackling a backlog and every day a backlog keeps growing. But that's the balance that you've had to strike and have struck, and what the report records is that balance between what catching up we can do at a price that people can afford. And we know that in this election, everybody's signalled we need to look at that. So in terms of the report, I just want to acknowledge the governance experience of all of you that has helped set the direction, and I hope we can all be proud of a significant year of delivery, where in budget terms we're doing well. Obviously our debt levels are below what's planned, mainly down to some delays, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And whilst our credit rating is lowered to A+ with a stable outlook, that's part of a much broader review across New Zealand. And you will have seen the results this year. It feels, I don't know about you, but it feels like there's been an opening every couple of weeks recently with Te Mako, Te Nainai, Walter Mildenhall Park, all those things coming to fruition that you have set over the triennium. So it's not just the annual report, Madam Chair, it is the conclusion of this triennium. And I'd just like to acknowledge all of the staff, but also all of you as governors, and you, Madam Chair, also for your challenge and support in getting us to here. And I'm happy if anybody wants to ask me any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chief Executive. Councillor Briggs.
Thank you, Sue. Just a question around the delayed information from Wellington Water. Unfortunately, it's not the first time this has happened with our annual report and us waiting on information to better finish off our process. And I heard in your opening comments that hopefully in the next week that comes through. If that doesn't come through, what's the contingency and what's the impact going to be on our audited process as well?
Well, we have got the information today. It's just now confirming it. They just had slight delays with their audit process as well. But we have been working really closely with them. Obviously, we have been pushing them to say that we need the information, and they have came to the table. So they have been working with us very well. It's just that we needed them to confirm the data and make sure that the data was correct. But it was just a slight hiccup, that's all, and it was just confirming it. And regarding the water KPIs, there was new water KPIs regarding the DIA measures. There was just a slight delay in those getting finalised by Audit New Zealand as well. So there was just like a small hiccup and another small hiccup, but we're getting there.
Thank you, Darren. Councillor Briggs, I think Jenny's just going to add to that for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to comment that we've seen a significant improvement in Wellington Water delivery this year, like significantly improved compared to last year. You know, the annual report for last year was only signed out a couple of months ago, whereas they're expecting to complete their audit and the annual report by the end of this month. So, you know, I'm really impressed. And where we have had some delays, we've escalated and they've been responsive. So, you know, overall, I think their performance has really improved and we appreciated it.
Councillor Briggs?
Yeah, yes. Thank you for that joint response, and good to hear. Very frustrating when your team, Jenny, are delayed. And that kind of puts our reputation at risk as well if we don't get our process completed in a timely manner. So great to hear it's actually improved from last year, and hopefully will be concluded soon.
Thank you, Councillor Briggs. Are there any further questions? I'd just add a couple of comments, if I may, just to give you a bit of context and build on Madam Chief Executive's comments. The Auditor General released a report last week on their insights into local government, and this is as a result of all of their audit processes from last year, from 2024. A couple of interesting little pieces in this is that we're all aware of rising cost and increasing expenditure. Very interesting that the increase in borrowing has meant across the local government sector, finance costs have increased 70% since 2019, 2020. That means in turn that 47 councils have not met the balanced budget benchmark in FY24, so that may look even worse in FY25. The challenges that then come for that, and to address your point about underinvestment in infrastructure, the total capex by councils in FY24 was just over 8 billion, which is quite a significant sum of money. In that is the most of capital expenditure on infrastructure assets in the past 12 years. So that just shows, and that's not adjusting that figure for inflation either. Of that, obviously you've got to maintain your existing assets as the other side of the equation. Expenditure on infrastructure renewals was 84% of allowable depreciation, so quite a significant sum, so that shows you the pace that this has been happening at. As I mentioned, increased investment, it means increased borrowing and across the total local government sector, which goes to your point about credit ratings. Total council debt has doubled since 2017. And I can assure you, I used to think as the group CFO in Auckland that $8 billion bothered me. It's now 14 billion in Auckland. Obviously, there's challenges in that when we're thinking about severe weather events, which is not looking too great outside at the moment. So it's not something that is sustainable as a message there. Interesting when you're looking at performance levels and performance reporting, and one of the main reasons, obviously making sure that this report is concluded, the audit process is concluded, which we're on track for you to be able to adopt your report before this term of council ceases. Last financial year, 23 qualified audit opinions issued. I would not suggest that I would see that moving too much this year either, because to my knowledge, the councils that were subject to those qualified audit opinions are still subject to qualified audit opinions. You do not want to be in that camp. So when I think back, going back to 2020, when I started working with you, we have made a lot of progress and tidied a lot of things up. So there is some interest and quite interesting material in that report, if it is of interest to you, of which both it has been circulated, thank you. It's quite interesting material, but also particularly if any of you would like a refresher or any new councillors that are elected after October 11th, obviously the Auditor General's Office does also offer very valuable induction sessions. They're really worthwhile. So just a few comments and context about the sector is interesting, and the other challenge is obviously the challenge of insurance across the whole public sector. So with that, I see no other questions. Mr. Mayor has tried to join us several times unsuccessfully. There's a few technology issues I think he's dealing with. So that's, if we can record in the minutes that he has tried to join us. So with that, I will move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee endorse the adoption of the group annual report for the year ended 30 June 2025, attached as Appendix 1 to the report, subject to the satisfactory resolution of the following outstanding items. A, completion of the final design and minor editorial changes. B, completion of the external audit and any adjustments required. And C, receipt of final clearance from Audit New Zealand. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Briggs. Members of the committee, do you wish to debate the motion at all? Or comments? Councillor Briggs, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly want to acknowledge all of the work from yourself, Joe, Jenny and the team. It's significant to actually be able to capture all the work that has done, but also pass audit, and we're on track to do so, which is fantastic. Again, acknowledgement of my colleagues as well, both online, virtual, and the ones not in attendance today, that a lot of direction, time and strategy has gone into giving this direction to enable us to be able to have a successful year as well. And so thank you to all for working as colleagues collectively to be able to get this work done.
Thank you, Councillor Briggs. I'm sure that acknowledgement is much appreciated by everybody involved. Nothing further anybody would like to add? Councillor Morgan.
I would also just like to say a huge thank you to the team for the huge amount of work that goes on to make this document come to life and actually be real. We know how many layers are involved, but also to all of you, and particularly you, Madam Chair, as your last meeting with us today. It's been a privilege to work alongside you, and I've had so much learning and growth in the last 3 years, and this committee has certainly set the pace and set the scene of what's real and what we have to do in the work. But yeah, it's been wonderful. So thank you all very much, Jenny and Joe. Thank you also for your good work, and all the officers as well. So ngā mihi kia koutou to you all.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. That's much appreciated. Very kind of you as well. So yes, a well-functioning audit committee is the backbone of any organisation. Said like a true CFO. It is. It's reality. I've put the motion. It's been moved and seconded. So those in favour say aye. Against say no. Thank you. I'll declare the motion carried. So that is the only major item of business on our agenda today. But given this is our last meeting, I'll just ask if there is anything of a more general nature that anybody would like to raise. Councillor Briggs.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a few words to share on behalf of the Mayor, also us all as councillors as well. Wanting to acknowledge your contributions to our council, not just this committee. Your support of the Mayor, of our chairs, and of the wider council and staff is noted. I know in the last 6 years, your contributions have shaped the way that I've chaired my meetings as well on a personal level, but also seeing the way that officers have responded to your guidance and direction across the organisation is a huge tonga that you've given all of us. And so I want to acknowledge your mahi, your pukinga, your innate skills and abilities and all that you bring to your role because, yeah, where we were 6 years ago to where we are now is significantly changed. And a lot of that's due to your direction, guidance, support and challenge. So I've got a few gifts here to present that have been selected for you. I've been given a kōrero about this gift particularly. It was chosen for your panache and style, which I think is very fitting, and just an acknowledgement of a very small koha for all that you've done for us and continue to do as well. And as a retiring councillor, thank you for your service to our city.
Yes, Madam Chief Executive.
You don't get away quite that lightly. And thanks to Councillor Briggs. You're our first independent chair of audit and risk here, and if I may say so, I said this in an awards video recently, and then I realised I said, we've got a chair of audit and risk, she's mean as. and that just shows I'm now a proper New Zealand citizen, you see. And what I meant by that is you truly put us through our paces. The best organisations in the world are high challenge and high support. That means that in order to be able to challenge with rigour, you need to do it in a supportive way. And if you're not challenging, then you're not supporting an organisation. I reflect back to when you started, Madam Chair, in I think it's the start of 2020, and it's safe to say that our pre-agenda meetings would last for a long time. Because truth be told, there wasn't much that it was up to scratch. It's also the case that there were a significant number of outstanding recommendations from our colleagues at Audit and New Zealand that we had to get to grips with, which for one reason or another hadn't got there, including things that really matter for public perception, like sensitive expenditure, including things like financial controls, including things like adequate reporting. The arc of progress over the last 6 years has seen that curve of the amount of time in pre-agenda meetings coming down to a level that still has rigour. But I think it's a demonstration of how we have got better. You have made us better. And as my mum used to say to me when I was a kid, do your best, do your best. And when you're better, do better. And even though we have improved, we haven't rested on our laurels. I'm confident that you are a person who would not let anybody rest on their laurels. And if anybody's ever said to me, well, Chair of Audit and Risk, they're independent, but they're part of the council, really. I kind of say, are you kidding? Have you met Chair Sue Tyndall after her roles at Westpac, Commonwealth Bank, PricewaterhouseCoopers, CFO, COO, 10 years ago? Sue Tyndall, Chair Sue Tyndall, is in the Chair Sue Tyndall Club. She doesn't give anyone an easy time. And I can safely say that all of our colleagues recognise that, but we know that you've done it in good faith and for our good. So we know that you will support the new council in, and you've promised to do some handover there. But thank you on behalf of all the staff. I'm just the person who gets to speak for enabling us to be better, and then when we are better, do better. And right on time, Mayor Barry may also have something to say, if I may say so, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chief Executive. Mr Mayor, you made the challenge, you managed to get through the technology barrier. I think we could see you were trying.
Thank you. So apologies. In the last meeting of the training, I'm showing up late. I'm sure I'm going to be adequately admonished by yourself later on. So no, I just wanted to really say on behalf of the elected wing, a big thank you for your contribution over the last 6 years. As I'm sure the Chief Executive mentioned, this is the first time the Hutt City Council has had an independent chair of our Audit and Risk Committee, and that has added so much value to our governance, to our oversight. To be able to also learn from you has been a big part of it as well. I remember in our first term, and I won't name names of other councillors, but some of them said, "Oh, having some challenges with my pre-agenda meetings and how I'm navigating issues and the questions of asking staff." And I said to them, after experiencing as the deputy chair of this committee, watching Sue in action, how about you just come in and watch how Sue rolls to be able to really get to the point of issues and fulfill our role as governors. So not only have you served a role for the organisation and strengthened our processes, you have also given the gift of learnings for others to be able to strengthen their own governance as well. And I think that that's something that has been incredibly powerful, and I do believe why we are held in such, part of the reason of why we're held in such high regard, I think, as a governance team across the country. So thank you very much for that. Wish you all the very best in your next role, and I know we'll have an opportunity to talk again as well, but certainly a big thanks from all of us.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Madam Chief Executive and Councillor Briggs and councillors for your kind thoughts. It has been a privilege. It's been a pleasure to work with you all. And yes, I am a bit pedantic and a bit tough. I'm not, there's a combination of being a banker and a CFO, which is pretty rare, but also probably for some people is what you don't want, because you just don't miss the detail. There's a sort of sixth sense that you're trained to do to spot what you think is the issue and then look for where it actually is. And often as, yes, I am an accountant, but a more strategic, I'm not a CA, I'm a CPA, so we're slightly different, we're strategic. And one of the things I always said to corporate banking clients, of which some of them were very large publicly listed entities, Singapore government and a few other things, is, yeah, fine, I can look at your balance sheet, but I'll pull it apart in 5 seconds and find the money if you tried to hide it. And sure enough, done that. There's a few other little stories along there too about methamphetamine rings and other things, and the Comancheros and various things. So yes, I am not one that you cross lightly, and I am well known for that. The sense of integrity is something I will not compromise, because if you do, you'll never get it back. So that means, and I'm also happen to be a Virgo, so the perfectionist streak is well bred in me. And I had my grandmother on my mother's side was the first female chartered accountant in New Zealand. And if she was alive, she would be 111 years old right now. So that's where I get it from. But it has been a pleasure and a privilege to work with you all. Don't let the standard drop, because that's, as you say, when you're good, you get even better. Don't let the standard drop. And yes, it's a small world in New Zealand. It's a very small place. So I am, as some of you know, I am very, very busy on Kiwi Rail, which needs quite a lot of work. So that's the reason why I reluctantly said to Mr. Mayor and to Madam Chief Executive, I cannot put the time into this at the level that is required. So I will stand aside, but I will help you find hopefully someone else. I have given some suggestions who can do that, but I do ask just keep it going, because once you've got to that place, and I remember some of those first agenda meetings, I was resisting the temptation to rewrite the reports, because I am the CFO. I was the Auckland CFO, so I'm well used to writing these things. As I was tempted to rewrite them, but no, you can't do that. You've got to teach these people as hard as it is. And there were one or two occasions I stripped the agenda of a few reports. It's not going, because it's actually going to get you into trouble if you do that. So it's been a bit of an interesting learning curve, but everybody's there. And look, you look at some of the reports now, and you look at, if I send in those pre-agenda meetings no feedback, don't need to touch this, that's what you want. So look, thank you everybody. It's been great. Have some fun when you're doing this stuff, especially when it's talking about, people think you can't manage amounts of money and still have fun. You can. So it has been that, and I look forward to, this is so tightly wrapped, I need a pair of scissors to get into it, but my innate style, thank you Councillor Briggs, yes, I'm very much into the style. That was another thing for my grandmother, never be overdressed. There you go. So thank you everybody. With that, I will ask Councillor Briggs to lead us through the closing karakia, please.
With pleasure. Noi tātou, let us all pray. Unuhia, unuhia, unuhia I te uru tapu nui, kia wāte, kia mama, te ngākau, te tana, te wai I te arataka tū. Ko rā e rongo, whakahiri ake ki runga, kia wāte, ai rā, ko wāte, hau, pāmarere.
Thank you, Councillor Briggs, and thank you, committee members. I'll declare the meeting closed at 2.